Another day, another dime, another dollar, another day here in Domaining Paradise. This is Mark Ghoriafi, the founder of MrPremium.com, coming to you from the sunset and sea. What a place to be, the land of opportunity.
I love it, you know, and what a great sign off for this interview. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of the IQ video blog series. And today I am really excited to have on our program none other than MrPremium.com, otherwise Mr. Mark Ghoriafi, coming at you from South Florida. And I've known Mark for a really long time in this industry, you know, I think maybe 5 or 6 years. I guess that qualifies as an eternity. And Mark is really a very special person when it comes to the aftermarket, and just a fabulous, unique personality. So I'd like to welcome you to the video blog. Mark, hello.
Thank you, Pinky, for that very warm introduction. Another day, another dime, another dollar, another day here in Domaining Paradise, as I like to say.
I love that. I think I find myself repeating it when I watch your videos. It's sort of like, yeah, you know, when you see something that you really like and it sticks in your mind, and I think you're doing a great job at that. But, you know, how did you get started in this business? You know, that's what I'm curious, you know, to hear about. I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit in the past, but I know the viewers will probably be interested. How did Mr. Premium get involved in the domain name industry?
Well, actually, I fell into this industry completely by accident through a bit of a unique background I have in the sports entertainment, specifically the wrestling industry. And it was through my wrestling background, knowing some of the wrestlers and other celebrity type figures, that I actually joined the .club domain registry, which at that time they were doing heavy interactions with celebrities for celebrity fan clubs and membership clubs. And I spent 2 years with the .club team, then moving into a premium namespace within that registry. And then I was able to expand my global horizons and joined, well, you now work alongside Rolf Larson yourself, their IQ Global, formerly the founder and CEO of the .global domain registry.
Right.
I joined Rolf and the team at .global, where I spent 2 years exclusively with .global. And then in June of 2019, Affilius acquired the .global domain registry, and I was able to transition into Affilius as the director of premium domains. And during the pandemic year, obviously, we all went through our own personal ups and downs. And in October, I had to just deal with some personal elements and took some time away. And MrPremium.com, a domains brokerage firm and acquisition firm, was born unexpectedly. And that is what I've been doing for the past 6 or 7 months, 8 months now, which has had some nice success, which I'm sure we can talk about shortly. But that's kind of my snippet overview of how I accidentally ended up falling into the industry, which I couldn't be more pleased and happy with, because honestly, I do not know what I would be doing with my life if it wasn't for the love of domaining.
Well, I think, you know, it's the same for me. You know, I've been in this industry 26 years. I just don't see myself doing anything other than domains, you know. But I think it's interesting that the past that you're talking about, the WWE or the WWF, because I mean, that's one little known fact about me, is I'm, you know, that's something that has always been something I really enjoy watching. I know it's kind of, you know, I know it's all kind of canned in a way and all that, but it is, I remember taking my kids, and I'm dating myself, you know, back in the 90s, in the late, you know, and we went to some of those matches, you know, and The Undertaker and Big Show and all those guys, you know, and to this very day, you know, if I have like nothing else to do, and I mean like nothing, then I'll maybe go watch those.
Don't talk it down, Pinky. It's still a fantastic sports entertainment.
It is, it's unbelievable.
In fact, Pinky, I have to say.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Now, I remember I think I remember at Club when you were working with Jeff and Colin and all the folks there. Weren't you Superman or something? I remember, yeah, you were like dressed up in a Superman costume.
So yes, I mean,
yeah.
I played a former. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up all these years later. That's kind of been left in the past, but yeah, I'm very proud of that, because started my journey in this industry. And I believe actually Braden Pollock, who mentioned to me one day, he says, you came into this industry, you made an impact, but then I'm paraphrasing here, by the way, you came into this industry, you made an impact, and then of course you knew the time when to hang up the Superman suit and move forward within your career in different directions to advance yourself.
Right.
And so my past history within the wrestling community was I played a gimmick fan fun character known as the WWE Superman. And when I joined the .club registry, it was 1 month. I still don't believe that I had the, how should we phrase it, the intestinal fortitude to do this 30 days after I arrived into the company. Was their 2-year anniversary, the 2-year .club anniversary. I actually, unknown to anyone in the company, we were kind of doing a celebration day, cake, champagne, this type of thing. I went into a private office room. I got changed into this glittery spandex Superman outfit, and I actually printed out on the printer the .club logo for the chest to put over like the Superman logo. And I went out, and if you notice the .club logo, it's blue and red, which matches perfectly with the Superman colors.
Yeah.
And you could see the shock, the horror, the dismay, and the cringe on a lot of people's faces. But I saw a little spark in Colin's eyes, I have to say. And they ended up using that unique branding opportunity to, at the NamesCon event, NamesCon 2016, I believe it was, to actually create a marketing campaign with my face on the billboards and posters, be a superhero to your client. It actually became a successful marketing campaign for the company. And that was me being who I was and bringing the former branding of myself as my previous character into the domains industry. And it was a success. And so when leveraged right and done in an appropriate manner, it did have the success that they were hoping for at the time. So yes, that was part of my past, flying high forward and flying high in a forward direction.
Yeah, well, that, it certainly made an impact. And I think, the most important thing is, and I know you and I were talking about this earlier, is, your the experience with that, the success, with outbound, because, you weren't, I remember you were saying, you really weren't getting any inbound. Maybe you could, extrapolate, on that, on your experiences selling at .club and then at .global as well.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, .club, .global, affiliates, MrPremium.com. I have never had the luxury of inbound opportunities. Of course, you get a few inbounds here and there, but I would say the 98% of my millions of dollars worth of sales over the years has come from doing several thousand emails a week, doing phone calls, picking up the phone as much as possible to reach out to potential opportunities, leads, and make sense clients. And then also, of course, I leverage social media to the best of my advantage. In fact, LinkedIn, just specifically talking about LinkedIn and specifically 2020, I did around $400,000 worth of sales through the LinkedIn social media. And that's not paid for advertising. That is just me putting out unique content, me putting out different content on a daily, hourly basis on many occasions. And so no, I've never had the luxury of inbound, but I have found my own methods and my own methodologies to try and reach the right people at the right time and leverage what I use and what I have to my advantage.
Yeah, I think, I've definitely noticed it. I see the posts, and, if there's anything anyone knows in marketing, as, repeat, rinse and lather, just do it over and over again. People get the message of who you are and all that. How did you get MrPremium.com? I mean, that's a great name.
Well, not to quote Martin Luther King here, but I had a dream. I actually did have a dream, and that's the truth. I woke up one morning and I don't know what the dream was about. I cannot honestly say, but the first thing I did in a half sleepy state was get my phone and go and check MrPremium.com. And it was for sale on an aftermarket platform. And I have to say, Mr. Premium paid a premium price for MrPremium.com. And so, yeah, I went on there and I found it was available. And it was just like it was meant to be for me, quite honestly. And I felt that I've had success specifically in the premium name space. So branding myself as Mr. Premium, not myself, branding my firm as MrPremium.com,
Right.
I felt was a potential opportunistic approach that I could actually capitalize on, use my own personality to take advantage of the name. And I had visions. I could see things I could see things ahead that I wanted to do already. But no, it was genuinely through waking up from a dream that I went and searched it. And I would love to know what that dream was about, because it has done me proud. But I woke up. But then another thing that I found was important, because MrPremium.com doesn't necessarily pass the radio test unless you have both MRPremium.com and the full spelling, MISTER. So I also went and checked if that was available. Also was available at slightly lower premium price, but I managed to get both. And so now it doesn't matter what you may hear and what you may go to, you'll end up at the right destination.
Yeah, it's very smart. Capture the traffic. That's a great name. I mean, in visualizing or having a dream and visualizing success, or visualizing or dreaming about those things that you want, I think are quite important, in being successful, especially in entrepreneurial activities such as what you're doing right now. I'm just curious, when you were selling, and you're saying you're doing a lot of this outbound, at the registry level, what kind of challenges did you find, in doing that outbound, in terms of how you were trying to reach out to people and connect with them?
I mean, one of the main barriers to entry I found was having to teach end users that these new domain extensions exist. I think that was one of my biggest challenges. Obviously, everybody knows the legacy domains .com, .net, .org, .biz, etc. But to have to let them know that an extension like .global or .bet, which was another one that I had big successes with, to let them know that these exist and they can be used, was another layer to the equation of an already complicated equation to try and get somebody to purchase, to acquire from you. And the teaching element was something that I found can be very simple in some ways, because some people just get it. Some people understand it, like it, they learn about it, and they love it. Other people are resistant. A lot of people don't like change. A lot of people just want to stick with what they know, even if it means getting a ridiculously long. And I think that the teaching element there it's actually more, it might have been a barrier, but it was actually very enjoyable for me, because I guess you could say if you're a TV salesman, there's only so much you can say about that 50-inch widescreen TV to jazz it up a little bit. But every conversation that I had, every conversation with anyone is of a different level and is of a different understand to a certain level, other people don't understand at all. Some people are veterans in this industry. And I think that that's what I liked about the outreach, being able, as you can tell, I like to talk, and being able to talk to people on a personal level and actually help better their understanding, but not sell, just inform. And I always say that if somebody wants something, that's only because they understand how it can benefit them. So I would help inform them of the benefits and how it could potentially benefit them. And if it's something right fit for them, that's when the negotiation process can begin.
Yeah, I find, in selling, especially complex type of things, and even within our industry or wherever, that, not taking this sort of hard sell approach is much better. But also, I think people need to understand the benefits, and you need to be able to, or at least I need to be able to back things up with data, and being able to explain things to people. In other words, it's one thing just to tell them, this is good for you, or you should buy this, but the other reasons are, why, and can you back that up with any data or statistics or anything, So I'm just curious, were you having to do that sort of thing, or is that a way that you worked?
Absolutely. In fact, it was who you are now working for, IQ.global, formerly registry office. I only scratched the surface of its capabilities, but using a lot of the data that I got at the now IQ.global, it was genuinely able to help me with my selling, because I was able to get statistical data from past sales and many different things that I was able to get to be able to provide in a professional, but also presentable and fun way, because not a lot of people want to sit there and read statistics and data analysis and I try to do it in a way where I was able to present it in, a lot of people like images. A lot of people like, and again, that's where my social media graphic content comes into play. A lot of people like images and something that they can easily identify to. And I was able to harness that, use that, and let them know of historical sales, let them know that people are selling these, people are buying these and selling these at good prices. And if I'm asking for $2,000, $5,000, $20,000, $100,000, there is historical sales to back that up and to actually give them a bit more comfort to know that others are doing it. Because you've got to be a risk taker to be the first in the pack. You've got to be a risk taker. But a lot of people like to know, and it's proven. And a lot of people like to see examples. So in having a live site page, being able to see, I know the .global domain registry had a really nice live site in the past where you were able to go and look at live sites of big companies and different companies using and leveraging new domain extensions in a different way. Not just necessarily as their primary URL, but as maybe their email addresses or a dedicated redirect to a specific page within their website. So you don't have to always use a new domain extension or any domain extension or a domain name for what you are representing, your brand, your identity. It can be used and leveraged in different marketing ploys, which is always good to let people know as well, even for shorter email addresses, which a lot of people liked actually. A lot of people didn't think about a shorter email address, a more professional looking email address, especially over a Gmail or Yahoo or AOL that a lot of people do use.
Yeah, I find, at least myself, I think, for end users, sometimes the sales proposition is a little bit different than maybe to a wholesale buyer, another domain investor, for example. So, I know when I'm looking myself to purchase domains or whatever, I like to be able to sort. I like to be able to look through a list, maybe look at available 2-letter or 3-letter characters, be able to look at certain categories of names, in a premium namespace and that sort of thing. That technology or that functionality wasn't around a number of years ago. And I think with the advent of the new GTLDs, that's been happening more and more. And of course, disclosure, we do that, at IQ. We help.
Of course,
we help. But I'm just interested in what kind of tools are you finding useful, today, in what you do?
Sure. Well, honestly, I think in this industry, your success is my success is your success. I think that's why I love this industry. It's a very community-like domaining industry, and I love it for the plain fact that you do get help from left and right. And I think as long as you listen and learn from those around you, look, I've had my successes in this industry, but at the same time, I'm still climbing the ladder to my own heights. I'm a long way away from where a lot of these investors who have been in the industry for 20, 30 years. I'm very appreciative of what I've achieved so far, but I've still got a long way to go. And so I'm always looking to succeed and achieve in different levels. So when I'm able to offer some advice, I give it in my personal opinion. And some of the things that I personally use that I've had success with is leveraging what is out there. So namebio.com, being able to historical sales, being able to obviously compare keywords of different extensions to then see what your name could be valued at. Again, obviously on something like NameBio, I believe Michael was talking the other day, I believe he was said, the CEO of NameBio, he was saying that there's 2.5 million data entries into NameBio. So you've got a lot of data there, but bearing in mind, a lot of it is also not there, because as we all know in this industry, the majority of bigger sales actually don't get privacy and confidentiality.
Right.
So you can only look at that, take it with a grain of salt, but look at historical sales, look at keywords, what have been selling in recent times and what prices. And I also use email scraping software. You've always got to be careful with email scraping software because, again, privacy aspects and elements. But if a domain is, if an email is showing on a website, obviously it's publicly out there to be used. And again, adapt your approach to be a relevance, have relevance to your approach. Don't approach, hi, I'm Mark, did you have an accident? Do you need car insurance? No, not at all. That is not the way I do things. I like to call it warm leads. If there's a warm lead that I can see potential genuine use for a domain name that we are selling, then I will approach them in a manner that tries to get them engaged. And I will use email scraping software from a database that I use, from a software that I use that gets put into a database. I then do the manual labor, which this is where the hard labor comes in, just because it's quite tedious. I go through several thousand email addresses to obviously take out any irrelevant ones, and of course, try and see if there's any obvious ones that you shouldn't be contacting.
Yeah.
Then, as part of an email campaign, I will send out emails, several thousand emails in a week as part of an email campaign, which I use Mixmax, which is actually just a Gmail extension. It's very basic, but it's proven very successful for me. So sometimes the most basic software has what you need. You don't need to pay big money. I pay around $60 a month for that, and it has given me the power that I need. I am looking to expand and use more, which is when listening and learning always comes into play to see what others use. And then again, through that, I funnel my leads in more targeted approach. And then when I get the opportunity, I always like to pick up the phone. I feel that having a phone call with someone can create a foundation of relationship that you just cannot have through email or through written communication. So I think phone call communication is of and I feel that being able to talk freely, personally, get engaged with somebody, I feel that building a relationship is number one of importance to how I operate and how I've succeeded with a lot of people, and to get repeat customers as well. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, using social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and any other platforms like that to put out unique content and to put it out regular content, but also to keep it consistent. I like to try and keep my content consistent in terms of branding, in terms of being able to brand yourself. So if someone sees a post, sees a background to that post, they automatically associate it with Mr. Premium.com.
Right.
So I think consistency and repetition is often good. And places like Facebook, being able to recycle your posts, meaning put the same post out over several period of days, I don't think works as well on Facebook, but on LinkedIn, I think that you can, what I call, recycle your posts, put out some of the same content at different times of the day, because obviously there's different time zones and different people are on that professional platform looking. So you might actually be able to reach a different audience with the same content over several days.
So in the face of the pandemic that we've all endured over the past year, what do you see the effects on the aftermarket? That's one question. And then number two, how has that altered your approach in how you do business?
Well, I have been very blessed and very fortunate because 2020 was actually my most dominant and strong year of my domaining career. And I did have a large amount of sales and regular sales throughout the year. I think that, like most people in the industry, we saw a little bit of slowdown in around the March, April time, and it started to pick up as the year went on. And I think that was to do with the fact that a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people just had to take time away from their jobs because they couldn't be in the office. And we all know what happened in 2020. So a lot of people were jumping online and trying to make money in different ways, trying to create websites to sell whatever it might be you have, even lying around the house, just taking advantage of what's around you. And I think that we saw a big uptake in general registrations, hand registrations across the board, but also a big uptake with premium domain registrations, because I think a lot of people took a little bit more time than they would have if they had their everyday job to go to think about what opportunities lay on the internet, what opportunities that they can capitalize on there. And I felt that 2020, as the year progressed, just got stronger and stronger. And in January, actually, so even before the US and most of the world went on a lockdown, I had a very strong January and February. And actually in March of last year, in fact, 1 year almost to the day, I had a very big accident and needed to spend several weeks in hospital after some major surgery. And even as I was in my hospital bed, I ended up doing a few $5,000 sales here and there for different names. And I think that like when I was confined to my hospital bed, the rest of the world, including myself, was confined to their homes for the duration of 2020 and still now for 2021 for most places. And I think having to be restricted and confined in an area where you're not used to being for 24 hours a day allowed you to expand and find new horizons. And I think that ended up by having more registrations for people that wanted to take things to the next level, especially when there was so much uncertainty in the world. You don't know when you're going to get back to work. You don't know what you're going to be doing in a month from now, in a year from now. So trying to find new horizons to leverage, I think, is made the industry stronger as a whole.
You know, it seems as though that, you know, there are just new technologies that are evolving and other ways of connecting and selling domain names. And one of them in particular that I'm curious to ask you about is Clubhouse. I know you're on Clubhouse. I see you on Clubhouse. I've been chiming in here. I've been mostly a listener. I've only spoken a couple of times. I'm still sort of in that listening mode, but I'm wondering how, you know, what is your take on that, on how that can affect the aftermarket?
Oh, well, first of all, in general, what an incredible advancement with learning. Of course, I'm specifically talking about domaining here, but across the board with any and every topic, you're able to jump into Clubhouse and just listen and learn. And I think I wish I had Clubhouse when I initially joined in the industry, because you've got some of the biggest and best investors and entrepreneurs in the world. And again, I'm not even just talking about the domains industry, I'm talking throughout the entire globe. And I think being able to have that type of quality, like we go to a conference, a face-to-face conference, and the learning experience that we get from sitting there and listening to the people up on the stage and what they have to say, we've got that now with Clubhouse 24 hours a day. And I think one advice that I would always give people, especially the new investor in the industry, is to sit back, to listen, but also to engage and ask questions, because the only way you're going to learn is by understanding. And if you need to understand something, don't feel afraid to voice out. Yes, you don't feel intimidated by these people in the room that have done $10,000 deals, $100,000 deal, $1 million deals. Speak up. They all began. They all began at the beginning.
Right.
Got to where they are today through making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, through understanding. So you've got this platform now where you've got some of the most valuable assets and commodities in people. Use that, harness that, and leverage that to your advantage. But also be careful, because right now a lot of people out there, I know there's a surge in .club domains, there's a surge in perch registrations for that particular extension, excuse me, for that particular extension. And I think you've just got to take a step back and don't jump with both feet in immediately. As I said, listen, learn, and understand, and then make smart investments. Don't just go up and start buying everything because you see everybody else buying everything. I think when it comes to renewal time next year, we're going to see if people are going to continue with their registrations, or I believe there's going to be a big drop in registrations when people realize that you aren't just going to buy a domain today and sell it tomorrow. That being said, I think Clubhouse has now a new and uncharted territory of selling domain names. I think that you are seeing daily and weekly auctions on Clubhouse where people can go into the platform, into a dedicated room where a lot of the community are there, and they're doing auctions. And okay, we haven't seen many big sales of yet. I believe the biggest $13,000 sale by Ashwin to Andrew Rosner, a two-letter.org, I believe that was. And I think using the Clubhouse platform to do these auctions, again, brings a community together, but also allows some of the lower hanging fruit to be sold that may be in your portfolios that you just want to get rid of. And other people might see an opportunity for it, but you have now wanted to sell it. So again, I think Clubhouse is advancing. We're still only in the testing stage, as I like to call it, because I think some big and wide opportunities can come from the platform. Right now, slow steps forward, things are advancing, and I know that the community in general is capitalizing on it. I personally have made around $8,000 or $9,000 worth of sales out of it, of low-hanging fruit that I've had, which has been very, very appreciated. And the people that I've dealt with have been honest and trustworthy, but also just always be careful because there is no structure, no legal structure in place for having to deal with buyers and sellers on a one-to-one basis. So just be careful, be cautious, and capitalize on learning, because that is the biggest asset.
Yeah, you were cutting out there just a little bit, but I think the viewers were understanding the context of what you were saying. But it definitely has, you know, the attention of a lot of people. That's for sure. I just know I've seen you on it, you know, quite a bit. So it sounds like from the sales you're making, you're doing pretty well on that.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, so you've got to be careful because you do get a little bit addicted to it, and you can suddenly be sitting there at 10 o'clock in the evening, look at your watch, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's enjoyable, but that's what I like about it. And again, through this pandemic, when a lot of people are stuck at home or been very secluded or socially distant, it brings you together. It brings the community together in a way that you've never been able to really do before. And I think that being able to just talk to others, again, I'm taking still social distancing very seriously. And so I haven't seen any of my friends in almost a year now. And it's difficult, but being able to have that social interaction with like-minded people, I think just gives you that release that you need as well. And I like that about the platform.
Yeah, I agree. And or even just connecting up on other subjects other than even domain names. I've also found that actually that results in a selling opportunity. I have some sort of artificial intelligence related .com names that I hold personally. And I have found that going into some of those rooms where people are talking about that kind of technology, some potential leads that I see. In other words, you know, you might have some names in a certain vertical category. You go in and you go into that category, and then over time, you know, you might be able to connect up with people and explain to them and teach them about domain names. And there was no intent in that group, in that Clubhouse group, to even talk about that. You know, they were maybe talking about other challenges, you know, of marketing or selling or developing, you know, ideas that they have.
I think that is a very valid point, actually, because I don't think a lot of people are really doing that right now. We're sticking to our domaining community groups. But I think where the big opportunities lie, actually, is exactly what you just said, is getting out into other groups, listening to others. Yours may have not been intentional, but I think going into startup platforms related to a particular category, if you have that category domain name, not necessarily invading the territory and having to do a sales pitch, but be smart, be strategic, and you can throw a few little comments out there when making points that actually might spark the interest of others. So I actually do think that is a very, very valid lead generation prospect there that we still have yet to really see any big success from within the community. So as time unfolds, we'll see.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of the stuff that's on all the time, like Clubhouse, you know, I've found being in this industry is kind of a 24-hour business. In other words, what I mean is being in this industry, I think, has afforded many of us to be able to work independently and to work remotely even before there was a pandemic, but also, you know, to develop our businesses and our styles of working, but also to be able to get out there and do the work and get it done when it needs to get done. And if you love the work, as I do, you don't care if you have to do something at 11 o'clock at night. Now, your significant other may not like that, but that's what we do, right?
And that's it. I think, Pinky, honestly, all my life I've had bags under my eyes, but right now I've got suitcases under my eyes, because the way I like to work, the way I've seen most success for myself actually, is nighttime work. And I will admit, my wife, we got married last year during the pandemic, actually. She's been extremely supportive of having to listen to phone calls at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, dealing with other area time zones. But I think that it's a 24-hour game. And I don't think that's what's so beautiful about this industry is you can always be working, and it is work, it is a job, you are there to make money, but at the same time, it's a passion for me personally. And I always like to say that if you like domaining, you will probably be out of this industry in 6 months, because anyone in this industry loves domaining and has a passion for it.
Yeah, well, I can tell that, and the you just keep doing what you're doing there. I enjoy watching it. And who produces your videos? Do you have a selfie stick, or is someone else doing that for you?
Going back to the comments I just made about my wife, she's been very supportive. She is the camera woman on the other side, hidden talent on the other side of the camera there. So yeah, I mean, she's put up with a lot from me within this industry, especially the late night work. And then suddenly, like yesterday, we were having a nice Sunday on the beach, or a nice day on the beach, and suddenly there I am saying, record me. And another day, another dime, another dollar, another day here in Domaining Paradise. This is Mark Ghoriafi, the founder of MrPremium.com, coming to you from the sunset and sea. What a place to be, the land of opportunity.
I love it, and what a great sign off for this interview, because I was just going to say, you probably need to get off, and it's another day, another dime, another dollar, and you need to get probably doing what you do. And just thank you so much, for your time. It's really been an honor to talk to you today.
Thank you very much, Pinky. It's been a privilege today, and look forward to seeing you in the near future.
That's right. Absolutely. Can't wait for that day. Hopefully it is quickly approaching. Thanks again to Mark for sharing a little bit about his journey in the domain name industry and for his useful tips. And we're grateful to you, the viewer, for watching. And we welcome your feedback and any suggestions for guest interviews or topics to explore as it relates to the domain name industry. Hearing from you really helps. So we'll hope to see you again soon, and thank you for watching.